Patriot batteries do not panic, they do not hesitate, they do not second-guess. So when the alarms at Rzeszów-Jasionka flipped to high alert on the morning of November 28, 2025, it meant only one thing: something serious was slicing toward NATO's borders. And that something was 4 Russian MiG-31Ks. They came fast, they came quietly, and of course, they came with purpose. From bases near Kaliningrad, the interceptors punched into the sky and began carving a westward trajectory that put every NATO radar on the Baltic region into overdrive. These were not ordinary patrol jets. They were MiG-31K variants, aircraft specifically adapted to carry the Kh-47M2 Kinzhal, a hypersonic ballistic missile capable of reaching Mach 10 and punching through hardened defenses with terrifying precision. The moment their transponders lit up on the air picture, the Polish and German Patriot crews stationed at Rzeszów-Jasionka reacted instantly. Within seconds, the Patriot systems guarding the single most critical logistics artery into Ukraine shifted from monitoring posture to combat readiness. The ANMPQ-65 radars spun up to maximum tracking power. The PAC-3 MSE interceptors in their sealed canisters stood ready to launch. Operators locked onto the approaching flight path and began calculating engagement options. It was a moment when the entire eastern flank inhaled at the same time. The jets never crossed into NATO territory. They turned back somewhere between 50 and 70 kilometers from the border, veering away before a single interceptor left its tube. But by then, the political and military message had already landed. Moscow was signaling that it could lean on NATO's aid corridor whenever it wanted, and NATO responded by proving that it would not blink. This movement captures the nature of modern brinkmanship between Russia and the West. It is not always the missile launches that matter. Sometimes it is the approach vectors, the radar sweeps, the decision speeds, and the split-second readiness of defense crews who understand that the line between calm and crisis can be the length of a single aerial maneuver. To understand why this incident carried so much weight, one must revisit the historical posture of the MiG-31. Born in the Cold War as a high-altitude interceptor, the MiG-31 was engineered to outrun, outclimb, and outshoot anything in its path. Its modern K variant trades long-range missiles for the Kinzhal, one of Russia's premier hypersonic strike weapons. Since 2022, the platform has been used repeatedly to deliver high-speed attacks against Ukrainian command nodes, air defense centers, and energy sites. On the NATO side, Rzeszów-Jasionka has evolved from a civilian airport into a strategic fortress. It supports the flow of over 1 million tons of military, humanitarian, and logistical aid into Ukraine every year. Every HIMARS pod, every artillery shell, every armored vehicle funneling toward Ukraine's front line in the last 3 years has, at some point, connected through this hub. This is why Patriot systems guard the area with permanent vigilance. Poland, having integrated Patriot PAC-3 units since 2018, now works hand-in-hand with Germany to defend the airspace surrounding the corridor. Their batteries at Rzeszów-Jasionka protect not only Polish territory, but the entire lifeline supporting Ukraine's war effort. It is no exaggeration to call the region one of the single most important military hubs in Europe, and Moscow knows it. Russian jets have probed the Baltic borders before. In 2024, MiG-31s flew similar courses near NATO territory, often timed with major political events or Ukrainian equipment deliveries. These movements function less as attempts to violate airspace and more as strategic taps on the glass, testing NATO's nerves and evaluating its readiness. So what happens when those routine border probes stop being warnings and become the opening move of a strike meant to shatter Ukraine's air defense shield? A full-scale Kinzhal strike on Ukraine's air defense network would begin long before the missiles actually appeared on radar. It would start with the roar of MiG-31Ks lifting off from Russian bases in the Arctic and Kaliningrad regions, accelerating to altitude where the thin air lets them reach their maximum speed. The moment those aircraft turn toward Ukraine, every Ukrainian radar operator knows what is coming. A coordinated attempt to blind, overload, and crack the shield that protects Kyiv, Odessa, Kharkiv, and the entire belt of Patriot positions guarding the nation's critical infrastructure. Ukraine's Patriot crews have proven they can intercept Kinzhals, but they cannot multiply their launcher tubes. Each battery carries a limited number of PAC-3 MSEs. In a saturation attack, they would have to make life-or-death decisions on what to engage. One battery protecting Kyiv can track dozens of targets, yet it cannot fire on all of them at once. Russia would exploit that reality by timing the MiG-31 launches to coincide with salvos coming from Crimea and the Black Sea Fleet's long-range aviation. If even one Kinzhal penetrated the defensive umbrella, the consequences would be immediate and severe. The missile would likely strike a Patriot radar, a Ukrainian S-300PS node, or the mobile CP units that link the scattered air defense grid together. Losing one Patriot battery would not collapse Ukraine's air defense entirely, but it would create a temporary blind spot that Russia could exploit with follow-up attacks. In this scenario, the real danger is not the first Kinzhal, but the second and third, fired at the moment Ukraine is reloading, relocating, or trying to reconstitute its radar picture. The entire battle would last minutes, but its impact on Ukraine's air defense architecture would be felt for months. When the war is evolving day by day, Russia keeps preparing the tools for the next shockwave, building the missile salvos, drone swarms, and air power packages that could overwhelm Ukraine's air defense grid in a single night. So, what are your thoughts on this? Share it below. Until then, thanks for watching.